Alright guys, today we are talking about my favorite soldering iron, the TS100. This is an awesome soldering iron. I've been using one for a very long time. If you've been watching my main channel, you saw that I went over to China and had some adventures there. Well, on the way back, Chinese airport security took all the tools that I had in my backpack. I've never had a problem with TSA, the American airport security, but Chinese security, different policies. So they took all my tools, including my soldering iron, which at the time I think I paid $100 for it, and I think they're cheaper now. Anyways, so went ahead and got myself a new one. And as long as I was getting a new one, I thought I'd make a video on the custom firmware that I use on this soldering iron. Let me go ahead and get the tip. Oh, you know what? By the way, while I'm talking about the soldering, let me tell you about this tip. This tip that I bought, it's the BC2. This is the best tip for the TS100. Actually, I just really think it's the best tip for doing soldering on our FPV drones, just because it's so versatile. So it's cylindrical with a slash cut, so it kind of comes to a bit of a point, and then you've got this flat surface, and that means that you can do a lot with it. You can put the flat surface on a pad. If you need to get a lot of heat into a pad, you can flip it kind of 180 and use the finer tip on smaller joints. So it's not necessarily as good as a flathead tip at getting a lot of heat into larger joints, and it's not as precise as a fine pencil tip at doing small joints, but you can do both pretty well with this tip, so you don't need to change tips. I just keep this one tip on my iron, and I use this iron for all of my soldering at home or while I'm traveling. I just think it's the best all-around tip. So, alright, let me quit yapping. So I've got this GitHub page pulled up on my laptop. I will put a link to this site in the description of this video so that you can download the firmware for this. And so what this is an alternate open source firmware for the TS100 iron by Miniware. The firmware that comes on this, I mean, it's fine. It gets the job done. You can basically just set the temperature and it gets up to temperature and you do your soldering, but there's not really any customization beyond that. What this firmware provides you with is one, better temperature control, a more precise readable. Actually, hold on, let me just, there we go. Okay, here's a list of features. A better PID iron temperature control, automatic sleep with adjustable sensitivity, motion wake support, settings menu, set a lower voltage limit. I mean, you can just read all of these different things. Actually, the only feature here I don't like is the automatic LCD rotation. I do go into the menu and turn that off because just depending on where you're holding it, when the numbers flip on me, it bugs me. So I like to just, set that off. So what you need to install this firmware is simply a laptop and a micro USB cable. So there's a micro USB slot on the bottom of the soldering iron. Plug it in there. What you're gonna do is you're gonna just download the new firmware and drop it in there. It's pretty darn easy. Here are the full instructions as provided by this website. So we're gonna download our firmware from the releases page. We've got different languages. Where's English? EN. Save that. All right, so we've got the firmware downloaded. Now when we plug the other end, the USB, into our computer, we need to make sure that we're holding the button closest to the tip. There's two buttons, one closer to the screen, one closer to the tip. So we hold that button closer to the tip, plug the thing in, and we will get essentially what looks like a hard drive attached to our computer, an external hard drive. All we have to do is take that firmware, drag it onto that folder. The unit pretty much disconnects and reconnects automatically after the transfer is complete. Now when we open it up, so now when we open up the hard drive again, we should see a file in there that has the same name as the file that we put in there. However, the difference is the file we put in there has the extension .hex, and the file that's now in there should have the extension .rdy. If that's what you see, you're done. So now, let me zoom in on this. So now when we plug it in, we've got some new firmware on here. We've got different menus that we can go through to do things. I can't really see what I'm doing, but all sorts of options that we can get into. We've got the new firmware on there successfully, but we're gonna go ahead and do one more thing, and that's to put up a custom startup logo. So I think you need to go to, so you go to this other page. Okay, you know what, here, I'll link this page because there's a whole separate GitHub for the logo editor, because there's a little program that you have to get into. For Mac, you have to like run it through Python or something like that. It's a little bit easier in Windows because you can just download an exe file. So I'm going to jump over to my Windows parallel and run that instead. Alright, so when we open up this, there we go. Here is our program, and all we need to do is load an image. I've got this basic JPEG of my logo, and yeah, see, it's kind of weird. See it? I need to invert it. You know what? It might be nice to make something custom for this. Alright, so just dropping in a random logo, I kind of forgot that it doesn't necessarily give you the best results. So I need to make something a little bit more custom with the resolution it's looking for, which is 96 by 16. So let me make a little Photoshop file. 1 second. Okay, did a fair amount of fiddling. I hate doing like exact pixel work, but it does yield the best results on things like this. So now I've made a more exact custom logo that's a little bit stretched out and should look better on the screen. And there we go, that looks better. And now I think I just need to decide, do I want it positive or negative? I'm just gonna go ahead and invert it. So then we save this. Now we have a new hex file that I named Drib logo. So we're gonna connect our soldering iron just like before. So just like we were doing the custom firmware, hold the button, insert the USB cord. Now we've got our hard drive again. We'll just drop in this new hex file. It does the whole reset thing. Look in there, and we've got an RDY file just like before. So now let's disconnect this. All right. And now when we plug it in, look at that. It's pretty cool. And we've still got our custom firmware. See, the screen's more responsive. We have a menu we can get into to set things. Super cool. Free, awesome upgrade that you can make to your TS100 and customize it. So like we saw, you do need to be careful about exactly which image file you try to just drop in there, because it is such small resolution. The default way that it might handle and try to turn your high resolution image into something suited for this might kind of destroy this shape. So you might have to jump in there and do some pixel manipulation. If you would like a Drib logo, I'll upload it somewhere and leave a link in the description so you could download the hex file for the Drib logo and load it up with no worries. All right, that's all I got. See you next time.